Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Cam, and this is a special video that is, you could call, I guess, a companion piece to my review for Glass. In my spoiler-free review for Glass, I said that my biggest problem with the movie was the twist. It just rubbed me the wrong way. And this video is going to explain why, because I couldn't possibly explain this twist without spoiling it. So this is a fair spoiler warning right here and right now. I'm going to be ruining the ending of this movie for the people that have not seen Glass. I highly recommend that you do go see it and then come back and watch this review later. So throughout the entire movie, Sarah Paulson's character is interviewing both Kevin Wendell Crumb, Mr. Glass, and David Dunn. Her goal is to try and convince them that they're not superheroes, that they've made all of this stuff up, and they're just living through delusions of grandeur. She's trying to target a certain incident to where they thought, these people thought, okay, this was the moment where I became a superhero. This is going on throughout the entire movie. And at a certain point, both David Dunn and Kevin Wendell Crumb kind of start to doubt themselves. They're kind of like, well, in the case of Dunn, what if I can't bend steel? Like, what if I was just lucky? And in the case of Kevin, what if I'm actually not crazy? Like, what if this is just some kind of defense mechanism because my mom beat me and my dad died? Like, it's very up in the air. Like, Shyamalan does a great job of not giving you clear answers. It's like, is it or isn't it? Now, for other people, it's like, you're just being pretentious. But for me, I eat this for breakfast. But Mr. Glass, who is supposed to be the villain, tells Kevin, because, Mr. Glass gets out of his cell, that's shown in the trailer, he tells Kevin, you can explain out a lot of things, but the extraordinary can still happen. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but that is sort of what he said. Basically, Mr. Glass is trying to convey to Kevin that you are not a mistake. You are meant for greater things. And it's kind of almost like he's trying to convince himself. That's a thread that was picked up a lot in Unbreakable, and I'm glad that Shyamalan continued it through Glass. Now fast forwarding to the very end, the big showdown, where David Dunn and Kevin Wendell Crumb fight it out. And Mr. Glass is like, oh, I'm gonna enjoy this. The first big twist is David Dunn's son, Joseph, runs in the middle of them and says, hey, stop. On the train, the one that my dad survived, there was another person on that train. And then I was like, what? And then it cuts to a flashback. The very train that Mr. Glass sabotaged and David Dunn survived, Kevin Crumb's father was on that train, and he died. You can make the argument that if Charles Crumb had survived that train crash, that Kevin Wendell Crumb would have turned out to be a normal guy. But, the one thing happened, and then everything just went downhill from there. That was a particularly good twist, because it made sense for the world that had been established, and it played into the whole, did it happen for a reason, or am I truly a superhero thing? That was a good twist. The bad twist comes a little later. Now, the big spoiler is that Dunn, Glass, and Crumb, they all die. They all die. Kevin gets shot in the stomach by a police sniper. David Dunn gets drowned in water. Poetic justice, I think. And before Crumb dies, he punches Mr. Glass in the chest. And, given he has the bone structure of a house of cards, Mr. Glass ain't getting up from that. But as Dunn is being drowned, Sarah Paulson runs over and she is like, take my hand. And then David Dunn grabs her hand, and then they cut to a flashback. And they see Sarah Paulson in this big fancy restaurant with these shady group of people. And then your mind cuts back to, wait, that sniper had a specific tattoo right there, and it was of a 4-leaf clover. And Sarah Paulson has that same tattoo. and you put two and two together, and essentially Paulson kind of explains that she's a part of this group that seeks out both the superheroes and supervillains and tries to basically either A, talk them out of it, and if they can't, then just kill them. And then after David dies, she walks over to Mr. Glass, who's on the ground clutching his chest, and she says, "Take comfort in knowing the fact that you were right about his whole theory of comic book heroes being an extension of our history." So, according to this movie, Paulson and a bunch of other people are part of a secret society which I will call the Clovers for the sake of lack of a better name, that seek out special individuals and just take them out for the sake of balance. Where do I begin? In Unbreakable or Split, there was never a mention of any form of secret society. Now, of course, it's a secret society, duh. But you could have, shown a person in Unbreakable with that tattoo, or Split, just to say, to put in your mental head, what does this mean? Just to spring it on us in the final movie, you're just I don't know. If there was precedent in either Unbreakable or Split, I would get behind it. But since Shyamalan just threw that in there, make it a secret society that targets special people, I'm no. Just no. I'm not going to try and be the, I could do a better guy, but just to put on my fantasy screenwriting hat for a second, let's pretend that the secret society doesn't exist. Sarah Paulson is a special individual herself. Let's say that she has the power of decay, with her words and, actually touching people. You don't actually see her touching anyone in this movie. That's something I picked up on. I'm why isn't she touching anyone? Well, maybe she can't. She has kind of an anti-superpower. Everything she touches dies. And so she feels jealous and rather envious of the other supers, and so she goes on a one-woman vendetta to try and kill them all off. It's not the best theory out there, but it makes a lot more sense for the world that has been established. And maybe she had a mother or a father or something that said, try and find the goodness in everything. And half of her kind of doesn't want to kill off all the supers. She wants to kind of talk them down and talk them out of it first. She doesn't want to go to the nuclear option at first. She wants to try and ease them out of the situation. I mean, anything would be better than what we got. Taking off my fantasy screenwriter's hat, I'm going to wrap up this video with just my general thoughts. Glass, on the whole, is very good. I gave it a great rating, which means that with the exception of some minor problems, or in the case of one major problem and several minor problems, I could see myself watching this movie again. But this movie would have gotten an amazing if the twist had been just more thought out. Think about the twist in The Sixth Sense. Bruce Willis finds out that he has been dead this whole time. Cole says, I see dead people. Bruce Willis is where do you see them? And Cole's everywhere. And then at the end you find out he's been dead this whole time. That twist makes sense because it's established that Cole can see dead people. And when it's established that Willis has been dead the whole time, you're your mind is blown. Because it has been established in the world, the twist makes sense. In Glass, there is no mention of a secret society in either Unbreakable or Split. So M. Night Shyamalan basically wrote a murder mystery and left it up to us to solve the murder. But it doesn't work like that. Mr. Mustard is supposed to kill, Professor Plum with a candlestick, but you need to have a Mr. Mustard. That's a Clue reference. Play a board game. In the end, the twist in Glass wasn't insultingly bad. It just made no sense. But that's all for me, guys. If you enjoyed Glass, good for you. If you hate it, more power to you also. I personally thought on the whole the good outweighed the bad, but the bad is still there. If you like this video, please be sure to leave a like, and if you have your own thoughts, leave them in the comments section below. I do read the comments, so let me have it. My name is Ryan Cam, and I'll see you in the next one.